Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to That Millwall Podcast. Wherever you may be listening, thanks for tuning in. If you're on YouTube, be sure to like the video. If you're on audio, be sure to subscribe and follow. Joining myself, Omar, today. To my side, I've got Stephen. Hello, mate. How are you?
Hello, Omar, Dan. I hope you're both well. And for our eagle-eyed viewers, I am in a Millwall shirt. I am shooting off to play football straight after recording this, and our team playing white. So, rep in the badge.
Five-a-side Kings, ain't you, mate? I heard, no?
I try.
We've also got Dan, as mentioned. Hello, mate. How are you?
Evening, mate. I'm very well, actually. Very, very well. Bit tired, but what's new there? We're nearly back to the football season.
Haven't heard you for a while, Dan, mate. You know,
No, I know. Yeah, the appearance has been few and far between this summer. But yeah, life seasons are cranking up. Pre-season cranking up. So hopefully my appearances on the pod can crank up a little bit as well.
There you go. So yeah, cheers for tuning in, everyone. Millwall On Tour. Today we'll be talking about obviously our upcoming pre-season friendly, amongst other bits and bobs, including the impending departure of Joshua Stevenson. I'm going to roll the intro and we'll get into that.
Language you don't usually hear on television. Millwall in London's Dockland.
No one likes us, but we don't care. We're that Millwall Podcast. Loud every Friday night right here. Legends like Jimmy and Abdul take a share of the kitchen or two. Super Neil Harris, a fucking legend too. Through the good times and in this life, we support the Lions all our life. This ain't no place for fancy feet. This is fucking Millwall through and through. Located on our very own John Benison way. Let them all come, let them have their say. Millwall till we die. With that Millwall Podcast. Loud every Friday night right here.
With that Millwall Podcast. Okay, so we're on the cuff. We're recording this on Monday evening. To be precise, it's 6:02, and Millwall just signed a goalkeeper. So we're going to go straight to that first. Liam Roberts has joined on a free transfer to be our fifth signing of the summer as a backup number 2, from what we suspect. Dan, you was the one saying let's go first. What's your thoughts initially on Liam on the free transfer, mate?
I mean, firstly, I'm just going to jump in and overrule you and say I think that's our fourth signing of the summer because no one's surely claiming Hutchinson as a new signing. Come on, let's not dive into that. It's not about him tonight. But
listen, I'm not having that. They've said it's fifth signing of the summer. But okay, yeah, fourth signing, all right. Fourth new edition. Go on, Dan. What do you think?
Yeah, there you go. Listen, I don't hate it. It's an experienced goalkeeper, 29 years old. So actually, as a goalkeeper, probably going into his prime about then. So it's not a bad sign-in. We know he's kind of been playing a little bit in pre-season anyway, so he's going to be somewhat familiar with the squad. He's on a free transfer, so we haven't wasted wages that we might need for other positions. So really, I don't think there's much to dislike about this transfer. I think the only thing you might say is that he doesn't have championship experience, but I think, or masses of it. But I think if you were looking for a goalkeeper with that, potentially his wages would have been a lot higher. And he did have a decent season in League One last year with Barnsley. So it's not a transfer I hate.
No, I don't blame you. I mean, as I'm just reading the club website statement, Liam's a product of Walsall's Academy. Made his EFL debut against what team, Stephen? You want to guess?
Thanks for throwing me under the bus.
It's close to home than you, mate. It's a lot closer.
I want to say us.
It was. In 2016, he made his debut against Millwall.
Did we win
3-0 at Chester? I suspect that's the Romeo goal, wasn't it?
That's the one I'm going to check that now. I think that's the Romeo goal.
So he made his EFL debut against the Lions in February 2016 before taking the loan spell at Chester and Southport. 4 seasons as the Saddlers number 1, followed until Northampton Town came called in 2021. Roberts played 49 times in all competitions for the Cobblers as they were beaten in the playoff semi-finals. In 2022, Roberts made the move up to the Sky Bet Championship with Middlesbrough, with his loan move to Oakville last season, allowing the stopper to remain the number 1 spot between the sticks. So yeah, obviously Barnsley goalkeeper, obviously they done quite well last season, League One. I believe they lost in the semi-final of the playoffs, Stephen. Good experience. We've got Jensen in from League One, who's obviously got a lot of plaudits from that division, and obviously Roberts, who's played a lot of games, but he's coming in potentially to rival Jensen, I suppose, but also to be a solid backup for us.
Yeah, I think, let's be honest, I think they probably would have wanted this signing done before the boys travelled out to Spain, so it's all official. He'll probably join them. Let's face it, a flight out to Spain isn't the end of the world for him to jump on and get over there. We needed a goalkeeper. It is a position that I think, obviously, with the sad news of Matty again, don't want to keep going over old ground, but we needed 2 new goalkeepers. So that's now kind of put to bed. They've been brought in. We know we're settled with them two, and we can move on to other targets. But as Dan said, it's a free transfer. I can't imagine his wage is going to be that high. I think Richard Curley made it sound like that both parties were happy with an initial 12-month contract. So it does seem a little bit like a short-term solution to a problem that the club obviously had. So I think everyone's happy all around.
Maybe that's from the player's perspective, saying I kind of want to be a championship number one because he's just had a decent season in League On. So maybe he's giving himself 12 months to get in the team. And if he can get himself in the team, then fantastic. And if he hasn't in 12 months, he might look to go and play regular football again, because that's basically what he's done at Middlesbrough. Also, for the eagle-eyed among you, that would have noticed that that's probably the second choice goalkeeping kit as well, because obviously Jensen promoted the pink one, so I'd imagine that orange one that Roberts is wearing
looks quite nice as well, actually. I think for what
I was about to say, I quite like it.
I mean, yeah, you're right. I think it stinks of the Fielding Bilkowski signing, wasn't it? At the same time, obviously, 5 years ago now. Obviously, we signed Bilkowski, signed Fielding. Fielding actually started the season in goal and got injured in the first game. So, I mean, I don't think Fielding was the first choice because Bart was signed quite late in that summer. And obviously, Bart was probably going to take over at some point, Stephen. But you never know these situations. Like, you know, as Dan's mentioned there, he's probably come in for our challenge for number one position and give it my all. And if Jensen doesn't get off to a good start, we've got a very capable backup who's obviously proved it in League One and looking to try and do it in the Championship, mate.
Yeah, and I don't know if Dan checked if it was the same game that Marlon scored his goal. But
it was, yeah. And just also, because Ben Green will probably be listening to this back, your favourite Tom Bradshaw was actually up front for Walsall that day.
Gregory scored twice. Romeo scored. I remember the game. And then he got
but interestingly, touching on what you said there, that you never know, Marlon only got to play because both fullbacks were injured and he ended up being a mainstay in the team. So bring that forward to the goalkeeper. You never know in football. If Jensen, something happens, or you know, if the new guy Roberts impresses him in the pre-season, he may take the number one spot. So competition for places, it's all now done and dusted. I think we all knew we were signing another goalkeeper. It was just getting it over the line, and now they can concentrate on perhaps the more pressing matters of further attacking players that are required.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, okay, so we'll go. I'll kind of skip Stevenson for a second and we'll come back to him because obviously we mentioned as well, apparently, obviously Stevenson might be departing to Brentford, but we'll come back to that in a second and what we think of that. Obviously, potential rivals, as you've said that, Stephen, obviously the ongoing link with Aziz from Reading seems to be lingering. Is that going to happen? Is it a go? Well, we're not sure yet. I mean, Dan, obviously, another link that surfaced today, and I know you said you saw it too, was John McAtee, who was reported by the HITC. What does that even stand for? You're in the media, Dan. What does HITC stand for?
I actually don't know what that one stands for, mate. Sorry.
Yeah, so HITC, they reported that we're after McAtee, who is a Luton Town player. I think they signed him on a free transfer from Grimsby, if I'm not mistaken, or perhaps an undisclosed fee, actually. So
just basically raiding Barnsley again. We raid Barnsley for a few years, don't we? He was at Barnsley last season as well.
He scored 12 goals in 40 league games last season, mate. So,
not a bad little return, is it? I think he's more of a number 10 than he is an out-and-out forward, which is interesting. If they are signing him to play as a number 10, it would maybe tell you the 4-2-3-1 is probably the formation that's here to stay, and he might come in maybe as a bit more of a backup for Fleming, potentially.
Yeah, I mean, be an interesting one. I mean, he scores goals, Stephen, this guy. I mean, there's not much else out there at the moment, is there, Stephen, for links? But I think the club's obviously being patient and picking up players as they go. I know Roberts was on trial with us, so we obviously had a chance to look at him up close and personal since the pre-season started. But I guess the guy, you know, that they're trying to slowly edge their way into the market and find the right options.
Yeah, and I think, well, look, we all were chomping at the bit for a signing. I mean, our group chat literally every day was like, we signed anyone yet? We signed anyone yet? We signed anyone yet? And then all of a sudden, in the space of a week, you got Langstaff, Tanganga, and Jensen. So the club is still clearly working on deals. There's clearly things that's going on. Harris is sounding more and more frustrated, though, I think, when you hear him and he gives interviews about transfers. So clearly he would like things done quicker.
But I think, can I just say, Stephen, very quickly? I think it will start moving a bit quicker now. The window, you've had a lot of players have been away at the Euros. Some of the big players, and I think the cogs will start turning at the top of the machine, so to speak, and that means the ones at the bottom of the machine can start to turn. I think particularly the loan market is going to start to kick in the next few weeks when maybe younger players on the fringe of Premier League teams who aren't sure of their futures. If another player can join that Premier League team, it's going to free them up to go out on loan.
Absolutely. And I think if you look at, say, take a club like Ipswich, for example, they've signed a couple of players. They're probably going to raid your likes of Chelsea's, your Liverpool's, your Arsenal's, take loan players from them. And then their squad players might have to drop into the Championship. And that's where we can sort of make signings from there. But I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, the season is now what, two and a bit weeks away. I've got that. If I've got that right. So, players are going to have to come through the door pretty quick to get settled. So I would imagine over the next week or so there'll be a lot of movement, and that might be wishful thinking, but I'm sure that the club are working hard.
Dan, I'll come to you on this one, mate. I mean, obviously, you've not been on a few shows recently, so I guess your general thoughts on our summer signings so far, and I guess areas that you think we need to improve on. Where you're at with that one?
Yeah, and I'm very quickly going to interject before, as Stephen just mentioned, 2.5 weeks before the season starts. Us three and Ben have still got to actually react to last season's predictions before we make this season's predictions. So stay tuned for that, everyone. I think that's going to be a belter of a video. We've all got one absolute stinker in there at various points, so we'll wait and see. One of us probably needs to watch it back to see what our predictions were, so stay tuned for that. In terms of our summer business, what do I think anyway? Well, Jensen, I think, is a very good goalkeeper. If you look at his stats, and he's someone who's on an upward trajectory in his career, so I think that's a really good signing. I think Tanganga speaks volumes, and I think the fact, obviously, he's such a good player, and the fact he wanted to come back, and I think when you listen to his interview when he joined about Harris saying he wants to he made him want to come back, I think that kind of speaks volumes as well. And again with Langstaff, if you only got to kind of look at that goal record and go that you might have a right player on your hands, it's just going to be a case of A, can he make the step up, and B, can we get the service to him? So I think our 4 signings so far, obviously Roberts, as we mentioned, been decent, and then I think if you're looking at the positions you want to strengthen now, probably looking for at least one winger, depending on what the futures for at least this season of Marco and SA are, depending on how they do in pre-season. From the limited bits I've seen in pre-season, they look sharp. I'm sure we're going to see a little bit more of them in the next few games in Spain. So you may be looking at 1 or 2 more wingers, possibly a striker, possibly a centre mid, and then maybe if I'm being greedy, I'd possibly like another left back or a centre back as well, potentially.
Can I just jump in there and say that for the listeners, the regulars, obviously they know who we are. We do this quite a lot, but the running of that Millwall podcast is very much like the running of the club. We have to be patient. We have to wait for people to become available, and then we tie them down, and then we get things recorded. Or in the case of Millwall, it's a signing. So bear with us and be patient.
I actually thought I was quite organised today in recruiting both of you for this show, Stephen.
Absolutely, but I was talking more about the fact that we've been trying to book the prediction video for about 3 months.
Yeah. We have literally been trying since the final whistle blew on the final day of the season.
I think what we'll do is we'll do our recap of our predictions, then give our predictions for the new season, roll it into one.
Yeah.
Or maybe we do 2 different videos and tell everyone to watch the first video so they know not to bother watching the second video.
I think we need to get some clips sorted for that as well, and just interject with our predictions, the shockers, and react to them, I feel so. But we'll come to that, and stay tuned for that, because there was some clangers in there, and I did go a bit over ambitious for my prediction for Millwall last season. I'll just say that very now, but that's fine. Like, that's what I do with Millwall, and I'm already feeling the optimism right now, to be honest. I mean, one sour note, I suppose I'll come on to now is, obviously I mentioned at the top of the show, Joshua Stevenson, chaps, is rumoured and probably quite likely to be departing on I guess a tribunal fee, or maybe a fee might be agreed with the club, not yet to be heard or seen, but he's going to be going to Brentford by the looks of it. And obviously Stevenson, just to lay it out if anyone's not aware, was the under-18s captain of the side that got to the FA Youth Cup semi-final. They beat Chelsea in the quarterfinals, obviously lost to Leeds. I'm pretty sure he scored in one of those games, if I'm not mistaken, and I'm sure one of the guys will correct me if I'm wrong, but he seems to have been the captain, the leader of that side, the under-18s. Obviously, he was also featured in the 21 side that won the regional league last year. Obviously, a really highly thought of talent for us, and it looks like we're going to be losing him to Brentford, who have offered him a 5-year deal, according to Nazir Kinsella, who I think is a Sky journalist. But the Millwall in fact was exceptional at youth level last season, and will gain his pathway to the Premier League, and a 5-year deal to link up with their Brentford B side. Now, I know obviously Brentford's B side is quite, I think I know it quite well anyway, seeing they try to recruit certain talents, kind of do it their own way, don't sign into, having the regional divisions and such, and kind of organise friendlies across the whole of Europe. I guess, Steve, I'll come to you first. What's your initial thoughts on that? Obviously, that, we're losing a real talent. And I know someone that Harris also mentioned in one of the interviews that he didn't want to lose him, but he kind of referred to it with Richard Crawley a couple of weeks ago with London News that maybe his head got turned a little bit early. So what's your take?
I think it's the classic case of that those in the Premier League, those at the top of the table can kind of not do what they want, but have that lure of being able to say to a player that they want or that they like the look of, look, a 5-year deal for what an under 18 is, is an exceptional offer for him personally. It's a shame for the club. It's a shame for Harris. I think, Gallen's been brought in as well, who's worked with the youth, and there's obviously going to be a clear, I think, structure to how the youth progresses in the club. Maybe it's come a little bit too late. I don't know. You'll never know what goes on, but it's a shame that this kind of thing happens. It's also a shame that other clubs seem to have young players that they get tied down to a contract. If we'd have been able to do that, we might have got a nice substantial fee for him. But look, you can't begrudge a young player wanting to sign a 5-year deal and move up to the Premier League. Maybe the club could do better, and I'm sure everyone's got opinions on that. But it's just a shame that if maybe we were in the top division, we might be doing that to other clubs ourselves. But unfortunately, we're not, and we have to accept that.
I want to jump my opinion quickly, Dan, before I come to you. I think I kind of got a bit of mixed reviews on Twitter this morning when I quoted the original link from that journalist. I was kind of saying, massive one slipped through our hands here, because when you've got the player, obviously I know he's getting the plaudits and, he's the captain of the under-18s. Who knows the actual true story of what's happened here? But it always feels like to me when you lose a player, and I'm thinking of also Lovelace, who went to Rangers as such as well, it is one of those situations where I suppose if you don't show enough love to the player, this is what my personal take is anyway, and maybe it's hard to offer promises because a lot of it's based on his performances as such as well. But Stephen's right. If they come in with a 5-year deal, which we will never give to a player of that age, and we don't give that to our best players, let alone someone that's 18 or 17 with a lot of prospects and hope. Hard to compete, but maybe this interest has come over the summer. Could we have done something before that? I'd edge more that way, but obviously it's a hard kind of place to be when you're developing these players and you lose them, because these clubs come along and say, here's some cash, come to us and we'll give you the Premier League facilities as such. And it's a real kind of pull for them, isn't it, Dan? So it's a hard one, but I do kind of edge almost more. Maybe the clubs drop the ball here a little bit. I don't know what you think.
Yeah, I'm kind of the same as you there, mate. I think, the club know who the top talents are from a youth level. They know the ones that are going to be wanted. Unfortunately, that's just the way football's going, where all the big clubs can kind of swoop in and get these young players very early on. As you said, he's probably being offered, has been offered a long-term deal as reported. He's probably been offered a very, very decent wage increase, you'd imagine, as well. And with us, you've obviously always got the big question. You've seen Brentford, a lot of youth players go through. They have a good model where they kind of sell players on. So he might be thinking, and he said, this might be a decent move for me, or maybe enables me to get up the pyramid quicker as well. Not to mention Brentford. Obviously, he was linked with Everton as well. Brentford's a local club as well, so I'm sure that probably played into his thinking a little bit. So yeah, I do think maybe that is one that kind of got away from us a little bit. But I think, unfortunately, these days, particularly when a player is still in their teens, if you don't have them under a professional contract in a Premier League club comes calling, we're obviously going to lose out. It'll just be interesting now to see what happens in terms of a fee, if obviously this is reported to be true. Because obviously Brentford and Millwall kind of attempt to try and find a fee, but if Millwall aren't happy with the fee, then it can go to a tribunal, and we go from there.
I'll come back to you again on that, Dan. So obviously Adozie was quite well documented. I think the club received £1 if I'm not mistaken. You might know more than me on this one.
They got a nice sell-on clause, didn't they? They had about a 20% sell-on clause, which kicked in when he went to Southampton.
So what fee do you think, or if you had to have a ballpark guess, what would we likely receive for a player like that, do you think, going to Brentford? What would you kind of ballpark?
I mean, depends how highly. I mean, if you can get $1 million and you can get, I think for a player like that, I think maybe the sell-on clause is what's going to generate you more money in the future than it is right now. So I think maybe that's going to be more in the club's best interest. If they if they put a price tag of $1 million and 10% and they get offered 500 grand and 20%, I think they might be more inclined to take the second offer, because they know they'll know how good a player could be in the future, and they'll know which offer is probably going to be the better one for them to take. But yeah, as you mentioned, Edwezi there and Darko Giabi as well, another player who went to Man City. I think it was about 3 million. I think we netted between them two for the 20. I think we had a 20% sell on in both, and Edwezi went for about 10 and Giabi for 5. So I think we managed to make about 3 million back on them two. On top of obviously how much we sold them for. So if you can utilise the model in that way, then all of a sudden it's not a bad way to use it. But the problem is we don't get to see some of these players who are clearly very highly rated play for us, and it's a shame, because it'd be great to see more of our own coming through.
I think another one, Stephen, that's been linked away is Hayward, who's one of the attackers in the 18 setup as well, and he's not signed a contract. I know the club announced 8 new deals the other day, and obviously Stevenson was missing off that list, and so was Hayward. So it's a hard time, but also to spin it in a positive light, like we've all been saying. We've obviously had the best regional team in the last couple of years, got to the under-18s. We're also doing something right in the setup, and I guess that's signs for encouragement, despite the fact these clubs can come and just pluck these players away from us.
Yeah, look, I think it's important for Millwall to have a strong youth academy and youth setup. As you said, if you're winning, clubs are going to come and look at your players. If you're not winning, this Stevenson probably wouldn't have had the spotlight on him. So that in itself, and it's interesting as well, because if you look at Romain Esse, again, it's probably going to be spoke about so much this, through this summer and the start of the season. There is a pathway for young players to come in and get involved in the first team. How much game time you're going to get is another matter. But I do think that we're not going to lose all of these under 18s, and they must have something about them. It's not just those two that make the team. So, yeah, it is disappointing that perhaps we're going to lose some young talent, but it does show that we are capable of producing this talent. We just have to harness it in the right way to either get them involved in the first team squad, or, as Dan said, get your sell-on fees on, get your the clauses that benefit the club and benefit the academy. Because what's the point in pumping loads of money into an academy if you're not actually going to make the most of it when it really, really counts?
Of course. Go on, Dan. You got something to come in with?
Well, yeah, it's a shame this isn't a live show, because we could have had 2 bits of breaking news tonight, because obviously we had Liam Roberts, and I've just opened Twitter, and Darren Whitcoop, former journalist and still very well connected in the football industry, has just tweeted that Alfie Gilchrist is set to head to the Championship on loan this week, and Millwall are a team that's got an offer in for him, along with Sheffield United and Preston, the Chelsea centre-half.
Come on,
linked with in January. So the thing is, I find it interesting that we're linked with him, because obviously would he start over Tanganga and Cooper? Would it be a back 3? Would that, if he came in, would Harding then leave on a permanent deal?
He's also featured at right back for Chelsea when he's played, hasn't he?
He has played at right back, yeah. But is he playing? Is he playing instead of Leonard, or is he coming in as a backup to Leonard, and then Danny Mack can be our left back or cover for Brian? I don't know. I'm just kind of.
What was interesting, I went to Willstone on Saturday, and albeit the relationship, it was a 21s team with a lot of trialists, because half of them were out with the first team in Spain, because we're on tour, boys, if you didn't know. What was interesting was they played a back 5 on Saturday, and I always thought that the team should mirror what the first team are doing, albeit it's friendly, there's trialists, probably fitting players in to see what they're capable of. But maybe there is the argument that Harris is thinking and earmarking potentially a back 5. But I know, Stephen, you've got to come in there, so what's your thoughts, obviously, on that initially, because we're on the fly?
First of all, for those that are listening on Apple Music or on Spotify, you won't see the look on Omar's face. The Come On Millwall, he's getting excited. He's going to be predicting playoffs and promotion at the end of the season when it gets to it.
Not the game.
Now you can see it. There's a glimmer in his eye. But no, I do agree with you. I really do. I think if what system and the way that the 21s play should be the way that the first team play, because then if they are required, they can just step up and fill in the position that they need. Alfie Gilchrist, if we're in for him, would boost the squad. He can play at right back, play at centre back. Let's be honest, Tanganga is going to play. There is no two ways about it. He is going to play. But look, and this is what we were saying. We said it about 20 minutes ago. Millwall are doing things behind the scenes. They are looking at players. They are trying to work on things. So there is stuff there. Look, Gilchrist would be a good sign. It's not confirmed.
I think it'd be a little bit of a statement signing, actually.
Yeah. And but I do think that perhaps, as much as I do think we need another centre half, I wished you had said that the breaking news was about a forward or at least a winger. But
yeah, I know what you mean.
Beggars can't be choosers at the moment. As I said, 2.5 weeks to go. We need players in the door. I still think we need another centre back. So it could be.
Also, as I said at the top of the show, I think that the loan market's going to start to move a little bit, and maybe we've got a little bit of evidence of that right there.
Yeah, I think also what we're going to see is we know Harding was linked to move away. I think if we sign Gilchrist, it might open a door for a departure or two to go as well. So yeah, it will be a revolving door. I think there won't, albeit we've not had many contracted players at the start of the summer. I do think not many of them. I think 2 or 3 at least probably identified as, if we get the bodies in, we can move these ones out. So Yeah, I mean, it's going to be fast evolving, I'm sure. Is it end of August, the deadline this year? 'Cause I know sometimes
Yeah,
they chop and change it.
it's usually 31st.
Yeah.
Actually, we play on the 31st, so it might not be. It might be the 1st or the 2nd this year.
So yeah, I know they sometimes change it about and stuff, but I'm sure it'll be a fast evolving board, that situation. And I mean, yeah, you're right. I did have a gleam in my eye because I think Gilchrist would suit us to the fucking ground if I had to say it myself. He's one of those players probably like just I can see him getting the fans on side. I can see a couple of red cards, I'll be totally honest. But I think if you're Chelsea, it depends what they want. If they wanted to play, free flow attacking football, would you say Sheffield United was one of those teams linked as well, Dan? I mean, hard sell, but to be in London, not far away, his first loan move, I think it ticks boxes. They think highly of him. They gave him a 5-year deal, I'm pretty sure, in summer. So,
yeah, I think in our position, you've got to use the geography.
Yeah, that's what I think.
Also, remember, that Tanganga's suspended. He's suspended for 3 games. So a centre-back has to come in and play. It might not be Hutch. And if we're reliant on Harding at that point, so someone has got to play in that position for the first 3 games.
Again, that's why I'm going to Hull, so I can see Tanganga.
You going Hull, are you, Danny?
I am, mate. Could that be this season's Plymouth? Well, stay tuned for the rest of the season, guys, and we'll find out.
I spoke to you on text. I spoke to you pre-show. You mentioned it. You got into the show. You're going to Hull. I think that's it. That is his new Plymouth this season. I'm making a prediction. There's my first prediction of the 24-25 season. All right. So, Stevenson's departing, it seems. I mean, I can't see it turn around now. It's got wind and it's in the press. So that's going to be a shame. We'll move on from that. Obviously, we've discussed already potential links. Not many at the moment, but Gilchrist has come into the forte there. So, one new news we got today as well, just as a quick kind of segue, is the new kit for the away kit this season. It's a greeny kit. It's as they've kind of said.
Speaking of Plymouth Argyle.
Yeah, it's a Plymouth-esque kit, I suppose we could say. But the club announced it today, saying the strip is manufactured by Area and consists of the green shirt with a round neck collar and black hoop trim on the sleeves, green shorts and with black trim, and green socks with blue hoops tops. Furthermore, MW, which you can see standing all the way through the shirt, is standing for Millwall. I'm not really fussed about kits personally, boys. I don't get too excited about them. I don't get too disappointed. I always wait for someone to go, it looks like a training kit, and I've seen that being bandied about already. I'm used to the kit talk. I don't buy them personally. I'll wait till they'll sell them. Sometimes I might grab one and maybe I'll open it on Christmas Day and say thank you for this, but I don't wear shirts personally. I know, Stephen, you're sitting there in the top, but you're playing football later. I guess I'll come to you because you're refereeing the club at the moment with the kit, but it's a good kit. It's all right. I think it's different.
I like the kit. I like the different kits. We have this. We do. Everyone, the traditionalist, blue at home, white away. Personally, I'm more interested in what they do with the third kits myself. I always like them to go a little bit wacky with those. So I always look forward to seeing what they do with that. But I think it's all right. I quite like the kit. And someone messaged me about 10 minutes before we come on here, then asked me my opinion on it. And I was like, look, I probably won't buy it, but I like it. And I don't really care what colour they're wearing as long as they play well in it.
That's
it. They could run around in a brown top if they win the league. It'll be my favourite kit of all time.
Well, exactly. And I just think...
see a comment, sorry, just to say, someone said, right, I was playing claret and blue, and I was like, are you all right?
That's a bit...
that's a stretch too far.
That's a bit too far. Can someone just check, or do you know who our last away game of the season is? Do we know who it is? Burnley away. So when we rock up at Turf Moor,
because we'll all be at Ben Green's house the night before for a night out in Manchester.
Yeah, we'll all turn up. We'll all turn up at Turf Moor, and they'll be wearing that kit. And Omar will have his prediction, and he'll be crossing his fingers that it comes true. So it's. I like the kit. I like the home kit as well. I'm always interested in that because that's the kit you see the more in, isn't it? That's what they represent the club in at the Den. But it's all right. I think it's a nice kit.
Dan, anything to add on the kit? It's a kit. You happy with it?
Yeah, it's a kit. If we win some games in it, I'll be happy. If we don't, then I won't like it. Simple for me.
Nostalgia, isn't it? I think when you look back on kits, like you mentioned it, obviously, if we do well in it, they tend to be most remembered kits anyway. So, like 2004 kit for me, like that sticks in memory. And the Georgia white kit, all that sort of stuff. If we do well, then the kit does well. So that's how I look at it really myself as well. We'll get on to the final topic, and that is the fact that Millwall's on tour. And if you didn't know, Dan, I'm going to Mercy on Thursday, mate. I didn't actually know that. So I'm going to Mercy Thursday, mate. Come on, I'm going for 3 nights.
Where are you getting all this money from? Where are you finding all this money from? He's been back and forth Germany for the last month.
throwing Benidorm in the middle for a stag do. But yeah, mate, I'm going Mercia. I can't wait. Obviously, we've got 2 games out there. At the time of recording, it's tomorrow, but obviously the game it's going to happen tonight when you're listening to this. We're playing Nottingham Forest tomorrow. That is obviously Premier League opposition. I guess it's going to be a workout for them regardless. And then on Friday, we play Real Mercia in the early hours of the morning on Friday. So, boys, we're on tour. I can't fucking wait to get out there. I'll be honest, Dan. I'm buzzing for it. I guess what we're going to talk about is obviously we're on tour. It was brilliant. But what are you expecting, I suppose, from the side? Because obviously we've had a few preseason games so far. Bromley, Gillingham, Reading, to name a few. Albeit behind closed doors, 2 of them. It's now ramping up now. So I suppose hopefully the team maybe starts to take shape a little bit and we look for a bit more partnerships in there. What are you looking to see from them 2 games, mate?
I think you're kind of hoping that. They often say in pre-season, because you don't generally play the teams that you're going to be playing in the league, that the friendlies you gain the most for are from the teams in the league above you and the league below you. And obviously Forest the last few years have been a kind of relegation Premier League team. So I do think on paper that could be a decent matchup for us to see whereabouts we're at. Obviously, I think we've beaten Charlton and Reading behind closed doors, who I think if you look on paper in League One, they might be 2 teams that are expected to maybe do slightly better out of the other League One teams. So I think it'll be interesting to see how we fare against another opposition, slightly different, but I think it'll be a good test for them. And as you said, you want to kind of see them patterns of play start to occur and you want to see them link up. So it'll be interesting to see how different the teams are in each half. I think for these games, the teams will still be quite different in each half just because of the climate. Obviously, we've already had the Forest game moves. It's going to be very, very hot. The Mercia game that you're going to as well, I imagine it's going to be very, very hot. And on the Real Mercia game as you're going, I've just typed their name into Google to see what they were like last year, and they finished 7th in the 2nd division of Spain. Quite interesting actually. They had a 0 goal difference, but out of all the teams that I can see, they were the lowest goal scorers, and they had the one of the best defenses, not quite the best defense. So maybe much like us. Maybe the Spanish Millwall. That's maybe why I picked him out. So I was going to say might be different. Might be decent to play against a team that play quite a different style of football. Obviously the typical way the Spanish play. I think Omar probably knows that better than most now after the last month. Sorry, mate, I had to get that one in there for you. So yeah, no, I think it'll be 2 good tests for him.
I invited you on today, Dan, to give you wisdom, mate. I didn't expect all this. All right, gosh. But no, you're right. Look, I'm just looking forward to getting out there and seeing Millwall abroad. It's probably one of the things, lifelong dream that I've had, to be honest. Albeit it's preseason friendly, Steve. It's just like, we obviously spoke about it in a couple of shows anyway, but the club obviously doing more to interact with the fans, give the fans the opportunity to go. Fingers crossed no one ruins it for anyone and we can do this more often going forward in the future. But regardless, we'll be out there and we'll enjoy it and it'll be what it will be. But obviously, like I said about pre-season, I'm looking forward to seeing a bit of partnership start to form. We know Billy Mitchell's out injured at the moment, which is obviously unfortunate. I know Denoy and Saville seem to be paired together in a few games so far, so I'm starting to think about midfield partnerships a little bit there, Stephen. And also, we spoke about, Gilchrist being linked. Are we going to see a change in formation? Or so far, we've kept it a back 4 from what I've seen from the teams. But, I can't see us going away from a back 4 personally. But, it's interesting to see what Harris does in these next 2 games, I think.
I think you will start to see a rough idea of what he wants to do. I don't think he's not going to give it away this early in pre-season. I think once you get to next weekend, maybe the Southampton game, you'll probably see who's going to be in the starting 11. But you will see some partnerships. You might see a couple of players play together. The area that you didn't mention that I thought you was going to is actually in forward areas. Is he going to go over 2? Is it going to be maybe a Fleming or an SA behind one of Nisbet, Bradshaw, Langstaff? That's another area that you'll start to see what the thinking is, what kind of way is Harris going to go. So I think it's great for the club. I think it's great for the supporters that we can go abroad and follow the team. You're right. The club hopefully have got started something here, and maybe next year you might get details a bit earlier. Some people haven't been out like with annual leave and holidays and things, haven't been able to quite get it sorted. But I'm sure for those that are going, are going to absolutely love it. Chances to be back with Millwall fans and friends and seeing the team and probably dying in the heat, but it'll be worth it. I'm sure it'll be worth it. But yeah, I said this the other day, and I got criticised quite heavily for it. But pre-season for me isn't. I don't care about the results. I don't really care who scores the goal. Yeah, you want maybe Langstaff to get a goal in a Millwall shirt, but I just want to see roughly how we're shaping up, what the plan is. Is there a plan B? They're the things that I'm looking forward to seeing, and hopefully, as I said, I think we'll start to see some partnerships forming in key areas.
I think with obviously you mentioned the Suns and obviously the heat, it is 40 degrees pretty much most days out there, so it's going to be hot. I practice out dos beers and dos agua, so I'm going to have 1 beer, 1 water, 1 beer, 1 water. That's going to be my plan, Dan. I think I'm going to have
That's
to
good weightlifting as well, to be fair, to burn off the calories as well. I mean, you'll be sweating them off most of the time as well, to be fair, in that weather. So
I hope he won't get pissed then, mate. Just keep going through, right?
Yeah.
Next time Omar makes an appearance on the podcast, he's literally just going to be bright red.
That's right, mate. It's going to be brilliant. Our predictions when we get round to doing them.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, we obviously mentioned, I think you mentioned this earlier in the show, Dan, about 4-2-3-1 or 4-4-2, and I know Stephen touched on it there, but I feel like, from what I've seen pre-season anyway, just as like something I've seen from afar, I think Marco's form has looked really good, and he seems to be impressive. I know he's linked to move away and stuff, but I don't think he'll be moving on. I think stuff like that might force a change in maybe Harris's thoughts, because if we played Marco, you imagine he's going to be off the left. I don't see him playing on the left of a 4-4-2. It might be on the left of a 4-2-3-1, and that might force our hand a bit here. But like, I think performances of the younger players that are in the squad, SA and Marco, obviously trying to impress, it might force the hand of trying to change formation a little bit and go somewhere else with it.
Yeah, maybe 4-3-3 is an option, or maybe if he wants to. I mean, obviously, we're speaking about Gilchrist. We've just been linked with him. Maybe if he was to come in, maybe it would be a 3-4-3. Who knows? So I think it's nice to have options and try and make yourself a bit more unpredictable. You know, the players are certainly used to playing in a 5 over the last few years. Whether they've done it to a great degree of success is a completely different question. But at least they've got, negative Dan's back for the new season just in time. They've certainly got some experience in it, so it might be an option. I don't mind playing it in the last 10-minute of matches, but I'm not quite sure about the other 80 of it.
I think as well.
The only thing I'm grateful for SO, Steve, is he mentioned the back 5, but he didn't mention the manager's name, so that's all good. So carry on, Steve.
I think as well, where Amaku is an interesting one, because you guys might be able to correct me on this, but last summer he had a stormer of a pre-season, if memory serves me well, and SA was playing quite well and getting game time in the middle. First game of the season, both those lads were obviously brought on and combined for the goal at Middlesbrough, because obviously their pre-season form had warranted an opportunity. Now, I know obviously we've spoke hours on this show about Amaku and SA and game time and stuff over the season, but maybe Amaku's saying, look, I did it last year. I didn't quite get the opportunities that I wanted. I want to play. I want to make a difference in this team. He's performing again in pre-season. Maybe, you know, the answer to some of the attacking problems has already been at the club, and it's a case of how do we get the best out of him, and can Harris find a way to get him in that starting team?
Yeah, I think he's been unlucky with injuries, hasn't he, Marco? I feel like he's always had that chance, and then he seems to get injured. I know obviously under Harris he was injured as well initially as well. So yeah, I think you're right. He has had a good preseason, and last season I think he did have a good preseason as well. So it'd be interesting to see what comes of it. I mean, one other thing I wanted to know: did anyone see the picture of Neil Harris flying around on the plane yesterday? Did anyone see that? It was on a Jet2 Holidays plane. So Mill didn't charter a private jet for them, and that is true.
I knew they flew. I heard they flew from Stansted. That's all I heard.
Yeah, the PJ wasn't available for them, Dad. I mean, that's just the club, isn't it, mate? What's going on there?
I assume it's only because you've chartered it for the end of the week.
No comment. The podcast does well, but not that well, mate. But yeah, look, like I said, just to reiterate, I'm excited to be out there. I will be trying to do some content. I know Mickey's going to be listening to this, so don't worry, Mickey. I will get some content out whilst I'm out there. And hopefully...
We just want some beer reviews, please, mate.
Beer reviews. Australia. What else have we got out there? Australia. I'll be happy with that.
Sam Mig. They've got some Sam Mig out there.
True, yeah. Ain't Madry, the shit Spanish beers, so I doubt I'll get that out there.
The one that's brewed in Burton.
Yes, correct. I mean, I've also seen we've sold supposedly 400 tickets for both games, so it sounds like we've got a good following out there, Steve. And that's just like I said there, Steve. Like it's the fans are excited for this, ain't they? And it's obviously hopefully a good opportunity for everyone.
Yeah, and look, I said it earlier. Those that are able to go, if you're doing both, if you're doing one, I hope it's as good as what people, there's been a lot of hype, so much excitement about seeing Millwall abroad. I think you're right, Omar. What you said earlier, it is a pre-season friendly, so it's not quite the European tour as such, but it's a nice little break. You catch up with some friendly faces and mates that follow the club, and hopefully. As you said, if it goes well, then it can be maybe the template for moving forward and years to come. More people will get the opportunity to go out and do it.
As Ben likes to say in our chat, it's going to be Champions League Lions in 2 years' time anyway, Dan, right? So it'll be fine.
Of course, mate. Ben's already got that tattoo penciled in, hasn't he? I mean, he keeps having to defer it, but he's got it penciled in.
Yeah, no, of course. I mean, there we go. Mostly it's going to be a thing. Any other business guys? Anyone want to add anything else? Are we happy, satisfied? I mean, any more rumours? Anything you want to break to us, Dan? Whilst we've been
no, nothing else. Actually, hang on. There's another academy player that might be going. 15-year-old going to Arsenal, supposedly.
I saw that. Was it
the winger.
Yeah, the winger supposedly. So I think that kind of backs up what we were saying earlier about, unfortunately, clubs like us now, we just get cherry picked. And I mean, one of the good things about being in South London is it's a conveyor belt of talent. But I suppose another bad thing we're seeing about being in South London at the moment is that it's a conveyor belt of talent.
Double-edged sword, as they say, right? Definitely.
Yeah.
I mean, there you go. Victim of your own success, Stephen, as we said earlier. But there you go. I mean, it's one of those.
Well, at the end of the day, it just confirms the academy's doing something right. And eventually, one of these players, it could be SA, maybe someone else, but one of these players are going to break into the first team, and we're actually going to reap the rewards and the benefit of the hard work that goes in.
Definitely. I think we need to do a show on something about understanding the fees and stuff as well. I'd love to learn a bit more about it, because it is just like, whenever I think of this sort of situation, I think back to John Bostock when he left Crystal Palace and went to Tottenham. And that was a big documented fee at the time, and the fee and stuff. And I know Simon Jordan, as vocal as he is, obviously in the news nowadays as well. It does stink, but what can you do when the FA is at the mercy of the Premier League clubs as well at the time? So it's a hard one, definitely a hard one for us as well. So anyway, I think that's the end of the show. Stephen, thank you so much for being on, mate, and enjoy five-side football in a bit. I
will do. The sun is absolutely like beating down. You don't need to go out to Spain. You just have to go outside in England. It's great.
Beautiful, isn't it?
Dan, thank you, mate, for joining us, and hopefully see you again soon, mate. I'll see you at Hull anyway, for sure.
Yeah, see you at Hull, yeah. No, cheers, mate. Enjoy Spain. I am very jealous, I won't lie. So enjoy it. Have a couple of beers for me.
Thank you very much.
Actually, I'll tell you what you can enjoy. Not that you haven't been enjoying them for a whole month anyway, but enjoy probably a beer and view of the pitch.
There you go. See, I will do. Apparently, it's from what I've seen, Sunderland went there last week, and supposedly there's some stewarding issues. We'll see. Millwall's tied up.
Millwall's in town. But apparently, Sunderland took 2,500. There was only about 50 Forest out there.
That's ridiculous, isn't it? Sunderland, man. Fair play to you. So I'll be sure to touch base whilst I'm out there. If you are going out there as well, be sure to, if you see me, grab me and say hello. It'd be great. And I can't wait to get out there. And that's the end of the show anyway. So if you're listening on audio, please be sure to follow us and leave a review. If on YouTube, like, subscribe, and find us a comment. If you've got anything to say about what we said in the show, we'd love to get involved in the comments as well and discuss what you guys have said. And yeah, that's us. Thanks for watching, guys, and we'll see you again soon.